Meghan Markle's publicity stunt trip to Chicago has just blown apart Prince Harry's UK security lies. This is quite something.
Many people who follow the royal family know Meghan Markle and Prince Harry as a couple who often try to control their public image and respond to criticism through interviews, public appearances, and media campaigns. But behind the latest headlines, reports now claim that a planned public relations move connected to Meghan may have gone completely wrong after a secret from Chicago suddenly began attracting major attention online. So what exactly happened in Chicago? And why will it have serious damage on Harry's latest plans to rebuild their public reputation and influence? But what do you think about this latest royal drama? Do you believe Meghan Markle's public relations strategy truly backfired? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And for more updates on the royal family, make sure you subscribe. Meghan's Chicago trip. Meghan Markle's recent trip to Chicago has sparked a wave of online discussion, criticism, and speculation, especially among people who closely follow stories about the British royal family. What began as a simple family-related event quickly turned into a much bigger public debate after photos and comments appeared on social media. The situation started when a local television presenter, Natalie Martinez, posted on X, formerly Twitter. In her post, she mentioned a peaceful Sunday moment and wrote something similar to Holy Name vibes today, referring to Holy Name Cathedral in Chicago. She also shared that her daughter, Sailor, was walking to her first communion. In the same image that circulated online, Meghan Markle was also seen nearby, standing among other attendees. This detail quickly drew attention from viewers who recognized her. Not long after the post began circulating, entertainment media outlets, including People magazine, reported that Meghan had traveled alone to Chicago for a special occasion. According to their report, she attended the first communion of the son of a close friend she met during her college years. It was also stated that Meghan is the godmother of the child, which explained her presence at the event. The report emphasized that this was a solo trip, meaning she traveled without Prince Harry or any public security presence that people might expect for someone of her status. The coverage also highlighted that Meghan reportedly arrived early at the church and did not request any special treatment. According to a source quoted by People magazine, she entered the church like everyone else, sat with other families and friends, and waited in the pews for the ceremony to begin. She did not use a separate entrance or private arrangements, which some readers found surprising given her public profile and royal connections. This detail led to some people praising the idea that she was trying to live a normal and low-key life, blending in with ordinary attendees. However, the story quickly became controversial online. Some commentators began questioning the timing and the way the information appeared on social media and in the press. They pointed out that the original post by Natalie Martinez seemed casual, almost as if Meghan's presence was not expected or emphasized at first. This led to speculation about whether the post was later edited or deleted after media outlets picked up the story. Screenshots and comments began circulating, with some users suggesting that the removal of the post was suspicious or connected to publicity concerns. Critics online argued that the entire situation might have been carefully managed to shape public perception of Meghan Markle. They suggested that highlighting her attendance at a private religious family event could have been intended to improve her public image, especially by showing her as approachable and down-to-earth. Some even went further, claiming that the narrative felt planned or overly convenient, although there was no clear evidence to support these claims. Others pushed back against these ideas, saying that the event appeared to be nothing more than a private gathering among friends and family that unexpectedly became public because of social media. However, some commentators connected the Chicago trip to wider claims about how public figures move around without being recognized or protected, although these interpretations were largely based on speculation rather than confirmed facts. Why did Meghan Markle's visit to Chicago raise new questions about royal security? Do Prince Harry and Meghan Markle truly require security funded by British taxpayers? Let's find out. Security claims and crime comparison. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have said that they need permanent, guaranteed security protection funded by British taxpayers. Their argument is that they face serious threats in the United Kingdom, and because of their fame and royal background, they believe it is not safe for them to move around freely without official protection. However, critics disagree with this claim. They argue that it is unrealistic to say they cannot travel normally, especially when Meghan recently visited Chicago in the United States without any visible public security. She was able to move around quietly and attend events without obvious protection or disruption. This has led some people to question whether the level of danger they claim really matches their everyday experiences. A major part of the criticism focuses on comparisons between crime levels in different places. Chicago is often described as one of the more dangerous large cities in the United States due to its high rate of gun violence and homicides. Even so, some commentators point out that the situation in Chicago should also be viewed alongside crime statistics in the United Kingdom. For example, Chicago, with a population of about 2.7 million people, recorded around 460 homicides in a recent year. Even though this was described as the lowest figure in decades, it is still considered very high for a single city. In comparison, England and Wales, which together have a population of around 60 million people, recorded about 522 homicides in the same period. This comparison is used by critics to show how one relatively small city can have a murder total close to that of an entire country. When these numbers are adjusted for population size, the difference becomes even more noticeable. The homicide rate in Chicago is significantly higher than in the United Kingdom overall. Some estimates suggest that the risk of being killed in Chicago is many times higher than in the UK. For instance, the UK's homicide rate is often estimated at under 1 per 100,000 people, while Chicago's rate has been reported at over 15 per 100,000 in certain years. Gun violence is another major factor in these comparisons. In Chicago, most homicides are carried out using firearms, with figures often showing that more than 80% involve guns. In England and Wales, gun-related homicides are much rarer, with only a few dozen cases recorded in a typical year. This means that the number of people killed by guns in Chicago in a single year can exceed the total number of gun deaths in the entire UK over several years combined. Despite these statistics, critics argue that the safety concerns raised by Harry and Meghan may not match their actual public experiences. They point to Meghan's recent low-profile visit to Chicago, where she appeared to attend an event without heavy security and without attracting significant public attention. According to this view, she was able to move around like an ordinary visitor without incident, even in a city that is statistically considered dangerous. Critics, however, believe that their day-to-day movements suggest they may not face the constant danger they claim. Why is PR being criticized? Is it a bad experience? Let's take a closer look. Meghan's PR strategy criticism. Meghan Markle appears to believe that her recent story in People magazine helps her look more relatable, friendly, and like an ordinary, down-to-earth person. In her image, she may want the public to see her as someone simple and easygoing, not someone surrounded by luxury or complicated demands. However, critics argue that this is far from reality. They claim she is carefully trying to shape her public image after what they call a bad experience or PR disaster during a past visit to Australia. According to them, this is just another attempt to repair her reputation and win back public sympathy. But one commentator strongly disagrees with how this strategy is working out. They argue that instead of improving Harry and Meghan's image, this approach may actually be damaging one of their most important arguments: Prince Harry's claim that he needs high-level security protection in the United Kingdom. In their view, the way Meghan tries to appear normal in public stories clashes with the idea that the couple is constantly in serious danger. To explain this point, the commentator compares their situation to other places in the world. They mention Los Angeles, where Harry and Meghan currently spend a lot of time living in Montecito, California. While Montecito is known as a wealthy and quiet area, Los Angeles itself can be unpredictable and sometimes dangerous. The speaker even shares a personal experience, saying that during a past visit to Los Angeles, they nearly became a victim of mugging. Their point is that major cities everywhere come with risks, and yet Harry and Meghan still travel and live in such places without public complaints about needing extraordinary protection. This leads to a bigger question. If they can move around in cities like Los Angeles or travel internationally, why is the United Kingdom presented as uniquely dangerous for them? Critics argue that this inconsistency raises doubts about how serious the threat level really is. The discussion becomes even more intense when the speaker brings in another example from Europe. They refer to a situation involving members of the Dutch royal family, where a man was reportedly arrested after making threats against them. One of the royal heirs, who has faced repeated security concerns, even had to temporarily leave the country because of those threats. The speaker uses this example to highlight that when real threats exist, they are usually specific, documented, and publicly known. In contrast, they argue that no clear, detailed threats against Harry and Meghan have ever been publicly revealed. According to them, this absence of concrete evidence suggests that the level of danger being described is exaggerated or unclear. They accuse the couple of building a narrative of fear without providing solid examples, aside from occasional incidents like the presence of a stalker Harry reportedly encountered in London. At the same time, the speaker does acknowledge that public figures do face some level of risk no matter where they are in the world. Celebrities, politicians, and royals all attract attention, and some level of security is always necessary. However, they strongly believe that Harry and Meghan are presenting their situation as far more dangerous than it actually is. In their opinion, this belief may even be disconnected from reality. They go further to suggest that this constant need for security is becoming financially draining, not just for the couple themselves, but potentially for public funds if their requests were approved. The implication is that the argument over security is not just about safety, but also about money and responsibility. In a second point of criticism, the speaker questions how Meghan's public relations team handles media stories. They describe a situation where a local television personality posted a photo, which was later picked up by People magazine. Shortly after, the original post was deleted. In their view, these actions are not accidental or innocent, but part of a deliberate attempt to shape public opinion in Meghan's favor. What's the reaction to Meghan's visit to Godson? Is it an effort to promote her public image? Let's find out. Reactions to Meghan's Godson visit. Critics of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are arguing that the couple often misunderstands how closely their public actions are being watched and analyzed. In their view, it is not realistic to think that people will simply accept every explanation without question, especially in an age where social media and online discussions allow millions of people to share opinions instantly. They suggest that the combined attention of the public, journalists, and online commentators creates a level of scrutiny far greater than anything the couple could control or predict. From this critical standpoint, a recent appearance by Meghan is being described as a calculated effort to improve her public image. The focus is on her attendance at a religious family occasion, specifically the first communion of her godson. Supporters of this interpretation believe that the visit may have been designed to present her as warm, approachable, and connected to family life. However, the critics question whether the motivation was purely personal, or whether it was also influenced by a desire for positive media coverage. In their opinion, the timing and nature of the event make it look more like a carefully chosen public moment than a simple private family gathering. This argument becomes stronger when the speaker compares different relationships within Meghan's extended family network. They claim that while she made an effort to attend this particular event, she has reportedly stayed distant from several close relatives. They mention her father, her father-in-law, her siblings, nephews, and nieces, suggesting that there has been little to no consistent effort to rebuild or maintain those connections. This contrast is used to raise doubts about why some relationships are prioritized while others remain strained or ignored. The critics also question the necessity of attending the First Communion, even though they acknowledge that it is an important ceremony in the Catholic faith. They argue that, given the long distance and travel involved, many people would have understood if she had chosen not to attend. Because of that, they ask what truly motivated the decision to go. Was it genuine personal support for the child and family, or was it influenced by how the moment would appear publicly? In their view, the situation raises uncertainty about the real intention behind the trip. Another key part of the criticism focuses on the idea that Meghan may be distancing herself from certain family members who could challenge her or present uncomfortable perspectives. Instead, the speaker suggests she tends to stay closer to friends and social circles that are more supportive of her and her public image. They describe this as a kind of mutually beneficial arrangement, where both sides gain attention, influence, or access, though the critics frame it in a negative light. They believe this pattern gives the impression of carefully managed relationships rather than open and balanced family connections. The tone of the argument becomes more judgmental, as the speaker insists that many people are not fooled by what they see. They believe that the public is capable of recognizing patterns and inconsistencies, and that attempts at shaping a certain image are often obvious. In their opinion, this leads to a growing sense of skepticism whenever new public appearances or stories emerge about the couple. The discussion then shifts toward the situation involving Meghan's father, Thomas Markle. It is reported that he has recently arrived safely in the United States, with media coverage referencing friends and family updates. However, they also mention that Samantha Markle, his daughter, played a role in making arrangements for his travel in a discreet way, with the goal of keeping the situation calm and preventing media attention from turning it into a spectacle. What is the contradiction about Meghan's security all about? Doesn't she deserve it? Let's take a closer look. Meghan's security contradictions. According to the argument being made, if Meghan truly felt unsafe traveling to places like the Philippines because of serious security fears, then many people wonder why those same concerns do not seem to apply in other situations. Her father now lives in America, much closer and far easier to visit than many of the countries she and Prince Harry have traveled to over the years. Critics point out that she was able to board a plane to Chicago without hesitation to attend the Holy Communion of a godson that the public had never even heard about before. The commentator argues that this has always been the case. In their view, the entire debate surrounding security has become more of a performance than a genuine problem. They believe the constant warnings about danger and threats are exaggerated and used as a convenient excuse whenever Meghan wants to avoid certain people or situations. According to this opinion, she tends to distance herself from individuals once she no longer sees them as useful to her image, reputation, or goals. Others, they claim, are pushed away because they may no longer support what critics describe as the couple's ongoing grift or carefully managed public narrative. The discussion then shifts toward the royal family. Critics claim that many members of the royals quickly understood Meghan's personality and intentions, and because of that, relationships became strained. Once she and Harry stepped away from royal duties, they argue that she no longer wanted to face those family members directly. The speaker harshly describes this behavior as cowardly, suggesting that Meghan avoids people who remember Prince Harry before he met her. According to this argument, Meghan prefers to keep tight control over Harry's environment and relationships. Critics believe she dislikes situations where Harry reconnects with old friends, family members, or acquaintances who knew him during his earlier royal life. They suggest that seeing Harry comfortably interact with people from his past threatens the image and narrative she wants to maintain. In their eyes, she wants to remain at the center of attention while also continuing to present herself as someone constantly under attack or misunderstood. The speaker goes even further by claiming that Meghan has created what they see as a dramatic and exaggerated story about living under non-stop danger. In this view, the security fears serve another purpose beyond protection. They provide an easy reason to avoid difficult family encounters or uncomfortable conversations. Critics point out what they believe are contradictions in the couple's behavior. They note that Harry and Meghan have willingly traveled to places such as Mexico, Nigeria, and Colombia, destinations some people consider far more unpredictable or risky than the London area they claim to fear. The commentator argues that while every large city has dangerous neighborhoods, London is still widely considered one of the safer major cities in the world, especially for wealthy public figures with access to private security. They even compare their own experiences, saying they have visited London more often than Meghan recently has and have generally felt perfectly safe there. Ironically, they claim their most frightening experience actually happened in Los Angeles, the very city where Harry and Meghan now live. The conversation then turns toward Meghan's public image and her apparent effort to receive more positive media attention. Critics believe she is currently trying hard to improve public opinion after facing negative headlines and backlash connected to her recent activities, including scrutiny surrounding her Australian appearances. One example discussed involves a podcast and social media creators with Down syndrome named Sean Skills and Molly Furtado, who run a channel called Get Down with Sean and Molly. A photo reportedly taken at the Best Life retreat showed Meghan interacting warmly with them. The pair had previously recreated one of Meghan's recipes from her Netflix cooking-related content and apparently received positive attention from Meghan afterward. At first glance, many people would naturally see that interaction as kind, thoughtful, and heartwarming. The commentators even acknowledge that it could genuinely be a sweet gesture. However, they argue that the situation also creates another contradiction. Meghan has often been described as someone who supposedly avoids spending time online or obsessively following social media discussions. Yet critics point out that stories like this suggest she is very aware of what people post about her online. Because of this, they believe moments that are intended to improve her public image sometimes end up raising even more questions. But how about King Charles's recent visit to the United States? Was it to promote Britain's image? Let's find out. King Charles' U.S. visit. King Charles, visiting the United States to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America gaining independence from Britain, while also trying to secure the release of a British hostage supposedly being held by an American terrorist, sounds so unbelievable that it almost feels like something out of a dark political comedy. The situation itself is so bizarre and ironic that it leaves people nearly speechless. It is the kind of headline that makes people stop, stare, and wonder how the world has become this strange. And honestly, the reaction afterward was filled with disbelief and laughter, because, to many critics, the entire conversation around Meghan Markle has reached a point where people feel they can no longer take the carefully managed image seriously. They argue that no matter how many publicity campaigns, staged appearances, carefully planned interviews, or polished public moments are presented, there is still something that feels deeply forced about her public persona. According to her critics, the biggest problem is not even the endless headlines or the dramatic media attention surrounding her life. They believe the real issue is that she simply does not come across as genuine. Many people feel as though every appearance is carefully rehearsed, every smile is calculated, and every public moment is designed to create a specific reaction rather than coming naturally. To them, it feels less like watching a real person and more like watching somebody constantly performing for the cameras. Some even say that when Meghan appears in family settings or public gatherings, she often looks uncomfortable, as if she would rather be somewhere else entirely. Critics point to moments where she is photographed with family members or children and claim that the warmth does not feel authentic. They believe audiences can sense when emotions are forced, and because of that, many people no longer buy into the image being presented. Of course, there are still supporters who admire her. Some people continue to defend her strongly and enjoy the polished, glamorous image she presents to the world. But critics argue that a growing number of people now see through what they believe is a carefully manufactured character. They feel exhausted by what they see as endless attempts to control public narratives, while ignoring the fact that audiences are becoming increasingly skeptical. The biggest challenge with maintaining what critics call a fake image is that it cannot last forever. Public patience eventually runs out. People may be interested for a while, but over time they start demanding authenticity instead of branding and public relations exercises. And according to many observers, that patience is shrinking year after year. What makes the criticism even stronger is the belief that Meghan and Prince Harry have struggled to build lasting success after stepping away from royal duties during what became known globally as Megxit. Since leaving the royal family, they have launched several major projects and business ventures, but critics argue that many of them failed to live up to expectations. Instead of building one strong, respected career path, they say Meghan appears to jump rapidly from one project to another. To critics, this creates the impression that every new announcement is more about making money or staying relevant than about genuine passion or long-term vision. They argue that if she had focused on her natural strengths and committed herself fully to one direction, she might have earned more respect. Instead, they believe the constant shifting from podcasts to documentaries to lifestyle branding to interviews has made everything appear unstable and unfocused. Meanwhile, there was far happier news coming from another part of the royal family. Official confirmation arrived from Buckingham Palace that Princess Eugenie and her husband Jack Brooksbank are expecting their third child together this summer. The announcement brought a wave of positive reactions, especially during what has been a difficult and stressful period for parts of the royal family. Their two sons, August, who is 5 years old, and Ernest, who is 2, are reportedly excited about welcoming another sibling into the family. Buckingham Palace also confirmed that King Charles had been informed of the news and was delighted by the announcement. Before the official confirmation was released, some royal watchers had already begun speculating after recent photographs showed Princess Eugenie spending time with her sister Princess Beatrice in Mayfair before later meeting Jack Brooksbank in Notting Hill. Observers quickly noticed what appeared to be a visible baby bump, leading many to suspect a pregnancy announcement was coming soon. When the news was finally confirmed, many people reacted with happiness and relief. With so much tension, controversy, and public drama surrounding different members of the royal family in recent years, this announcement felt like a rare moment of joy. Supporters described it as a bright light during a difficult time and hoped the arrival of a new baby could bring happiness and unity to the York family. What do you think about Meghan Markle's PR stunt? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.